He's big. He's nasty. He's big nasty.
Now that's nasty.
E60 Pictures, in conjunction with Lucasfilm, presents the story you haven't heard. Behind the Nasty, the Alfred Kunawa story. Dude, what are you doing? Sorry, you're bad. Like standing right behind me. I was just breathing down my neck. Back up. No, you're right, sorry. Listen to PodNasty on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, and SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/AKONUWA. It's Alfred Big Nasty Kunawa. Dateline, May 7th, 2015, which means it's Defender of the Fatherland Day. It's Dien Bien Phu Victory Day. And it's Radio Day, but only for Alexander Popov. Remember to subscribe to PodNasty on iTunes and YouTube, and listen to PodNasty on SoundCloud and Stitcher. I had a wonderful interview with Xavier Woods that we will get to soon, but today's episode is brought to you by Parity. That's right, Parity. Parity. As in the parity of the WWE roster. Dean Ambrose was just announced in the main event of WWE Payback. And you look at things from a grand scheme. Take a step back, you look at Dean Ambrose, and the guy just won his first pay-per-view match in I don't know how many months, and he's been stagnant for the most part. But for some reason, when it was announced that Dean Ambrose is now in the main event at Payback for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, you kind of say to yourself, okay, makes sense. Why does it make sense? Because of parity. Our good old equalizing friend. All things are equal right now on the WWE roster. Everybody's got a chance. The entire roster is up for grabs. There really aren't any true main eventers right now. I mean, you got Brock Lesnar and John Cena are the only two difference makers. But John Cena is in the mid-card as the United States champion, feuding with a whole fresh new batch of talent, whereas Brock Lesnar only works every 3 to 4 months and he's on his off time right now. Brock Lesnar is gone. John Cena in the mid-card. Think about it this way. Heath Slater is legitimately in a long-term feud with John Cena. What? That's true. Every week for the past 3 or 4 weeks now, Heath Slater's come out, challenged John Cena, and gotten shot down. And I would be surprised if this led to Heath Slater getting a fluke victory over Cena. The entire roster is up for grabs. It's parity. Everybody's got a shot. You see this main event at Payback, and it's just so representative of what state we're in with the roster. A roster that's in flux, that's transitional. Seth Rollins, your first-time champion. Dean Ambrose, very rarely, I think this is his first time competing for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Roman Reigns, only his second time. Might be third. And then you've got Randy Orton, who is the consummate veteran, still relatively young, but somebody who's been in the WWE for a while now. The entire roster's up for grabs. All things seem to be equal. Nobody's really separated themselves yet. And there's a whole bunch of parity. So you look at Dean Ambrose and you say, what is he doing in the main event of a pay-per-view for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? But it makes sense. Might as well have been Heath Slater. Might as well have been Rusev, who probably has a better case. Could have been anybody. But the entire roster is all just in this state of flux. Yeah, Seth Rollins is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. But is he? You look at him as this guy who deserves to have that title, who's dominating the competition. Remember when Brock Lesnar had that belt? There was no doubt in anybody's mind that he was like the pound-for-pound king of WWE. Often described as the most dominant champion. As close to the most unbeatable champion they've ever seen. Now he's gone, doesn't have the title anymore, and it's the complete opposite. Complete opposite. Daniel Bryan, who tends to linger around in the main event, he's gone. And the entire roster is all competing just for a spot. Just for a spot. I like it. It kind of adds to the excitement. Nobody really expects Seth Rollins to lose the title, but not because he's this unbeatable main eventer, more because champions tend to get a 3 to 4 month reign when they win it for the first time, when they're young, when they're up and coming. WWE tends to stick with him for a little bit, and it seems like the plan is to have Rollins lose the title at SummerSlam, maybe to Brock Lesnar, maybe to Roman Reigns, who knows? But that does not take away from the fact that WWE's roster is completely up and down. All things are equal. It's more unstable than Dean Ambrose is. So while it may seem like Dean Ambrose is back on track, on his way back to the top of the WWE, his spot in the main event is more reflective of the fact that WWE's roster has so much parity, anybody could have gotten that fourth spot in the Fatal 4-Way. Anybody. Bray Wyatt, Ryback, Brooklyn Brawler, who knows? This, of course, can't go on forever. Somebody has to separate, but for now, maybe we should just enjoy the ride where everybody's got a shot. You would think that the fact that there's now one WWE World Heavyweight Championship, that would create a huge glass ceiling and a barrier to entry, and it would be solidified who can compete for that title. Because when there was two titles, I mean, a lot of world champions were crowned back in the two-title system. Now that there's only one, it seems like it would be more solidified. Like, yeah, there's only going to be about 3, 4, 5, 6 people who are going to be competing for that title in any given year, but it's up and down. Everybody's got a shot. Now's the time to join WWE. I can see why there's NXT. I can see why there's Tough Enough. Now's the time to get into this business. You can show up on TV, and you've got just as good a shot as Heath Slater, who is currently feuding with top star John Cena. Go get you some. Today's episode is also brought to you by the vaunted injury bug. Oh, the injury bug. Oh, the injury bug. Of course, we saw the long-awaited debut of Sami Zayn in Canada. Couldn't have done it better. He was presented like a big deal. He got the rub from Bret Hart. Crowd was really into it. Had a good, not great match against John Cena, but he got hurt. He got hurt. It was unfortunate. This is not the spot you want to get hurt, but he did. And now I'm beginning to notice a pattern that WWE really needs to be aware of. Notice how all these highly touted independent sensations keep getting injured? You think that's a coincidence? Hideo Itami was just reported maybe out 6 to 8 months with a shoulder injury. Kevin Owens, just months after debuting with WWE, needed surgery, arthroscopic surgery on his knees. Solomon Crowe, formerly known as Sami Callihan, injured his leg. He was out for a while. And now Sami Zayn has another shoulder ailment. Again, he was out before in WWE with the shoulder injury, and now he's hurt again. Do you think this is a coincidence? This is very explainable. You're taking all these 30-somethings who are king of the indies, big-time independent wrestling stars, putting them all under contract in WWE, and they're getting hurt because they wrestled a physical style. Go back and look at Sami Zayn when he was El Generico wrestling Kevin Owens. Physical matches, ladder matches, hardcore, independent wrestling promotions pride themselves and sell their tickets based on the fact that they're not the PG-friendly WWE. They can jump off ladders still. They can go through tables. They can work a strong style that does not hold up in WWE. And as a result, people get hurt. Now you're seeing Uhaa Nation. He's being touted as the next big thing. They did a vignette on him in NXT. I love me some Uhaa Nation, but he has a history of ACL injuries. Who's to say he won't get hurt again? I hope not. But WWE really has to take a hard and fast look at his talents. I mean, I'm sure the plan is to burn out the independent territories by taking their biggest stars, the Sami Zayns, the Kevin Owens, the Solomon Crowes, Hideo Itamis, make a super indie, but at what cost? Because at some point, they're just paying for these guys to visit Kaiser Permanente. You're just paying for their surgery. These guys have longer feuds with their doctors than with other wrestlers. At what cost are you going to, quote-unquote, burn out the indies? Because is it really worth it to take all these 30-somethings who wrestled physical styles for years and put them under a WWE contract? Not if they're not going to compete and they're going to spend all that time injured. And I can hear the defenses right now. Oh, well, everybody gets hurt. It's wrestling. Look at John Cena. John Cena has multiple injuries. Yeah, a lot of people do get hurt in wrestling. Wrestling is a very tough form of sports entertainment. But if that's the case, that should discourage WWE even more from hiring somebody in their 30s who wrestled for years in a physical, injury-prone style. Right? Wouldn't that discourage them more? Yeah, wrestling's physical. Let's go out and get this aging independent wrestling star who beat up his body. There's a reason they're all getting hurt. It's It's not just a fluke. It's not a curse. It's very explainable. You get a guy who worked that style, he's more prone to injury. You deal with time, he's in his mid-30s. I mean, Finn Balor has, for the most part, avoided any serious injury, but he's in his mid-30s. WWE might want to go back to the drawing board because I remember a time which was not too long ago that Triple H was saying, we really don't need these independent wrestling stars. We want to create our own type of philosophy and culture. We want to bring in guys from other walks of life who they could start here, learn the process here, and elevate to the main roster. That might be the philosophy that they need to go with going forward. This whole super indie thing is really fun for the fans, and it's really exciting to see all these guys work in the WWE and see if they're going to make it. I love it. But being objective, the guys are just getting hurt. It's upsetting, but it's fact. You have to look yourself in the eye. Look no further than Daniel Bryan, who's the ultimate example of this. The number one independent wrestler in the world came to WWE, was a success. Okay, you cannot argue the fact that Daniel Bryan was a success. But now you see that he's battling what really are career-threatening injuries. Neck injuries, arm injuries, a concussion, whatever it is. He's hurt. Past couple of years hasn't been the same. And that's the guy that they elevated all the way to the top of the WWE. So if they see that with Daniel Bryan, and then they see what's going on in NXT with these top independent stars, and Sami Zayn, the first impression you get on him is a guy that gets hurt, shoulder. I'm sure that's one of the first times Vince has seen him work, and he's getting hurt. Might want to change directions. Might want to look into getting NFL guys. I know you have to have passion for wrestling, really, for the most part, to succeed. But at the end of the day, this is a business, and your wrestlers are your most important assets. And if you're going and getting used goods and bringing a bunch of used cars to your lot, don't be surprised if they start to break down, because that's what used cars do. We now transition from used cars to the New Day. I had the pleasure of speaking with New Day frontman, you can argue, Xavier Woods, who was featured as Austin Watson on that wonderful documentary Behind the Curtain. It was an E60 doc. Great work. Really think it should win multiple awards. And Xavier Woods was one of the focal points. I talked to him about growing up in the 90s, about the documentary, and about the success, the surprising success of New Day as villains. Really interesting stuff. I'd like to thank Xavier Woods for taking the time. So without further ado, here's Xavier Woods. Watched the documentary like pretty much everybody else. Loved it. I'm a 90s kid just like you, and I love the fact that you broke out the Pogs and you had this like times capsule of all these 90s memorabilia. What other stuff was in that bag?
Well, okay, so the thing with that backpack, it's not like the biggest bag, so I would also bring like a box with me, but they didn't show on there. And so at the time I was doing like the 90s connection thing, so I went to my parents' house and got a bunch of stuff, and then I got a bunch of stuff just from friends looking around. So like there was like a New Kid on the Block VHS, a bunch of like Lisa Frank folders, in Pog bag, there were more slammers, Discman, Walkman, pretty much like anything 90s that you can think of. Those old like sweet cartoon character laser toppers.
Remember that?
Everything.
What's your most valuable slammer? Because we all have one. I'll share you with mine, but what was your most valuable slammer?
I have one that technically two pieces that screw into each other. They're both gold, and when you unscrew them, they're two just really heavy slammers with holograms of like skulls in them. I don't remember like what the specific name that they used to explain what they were, but I just remember they got two hologram skulls in each side of them, so you can either unscrew and have two slammers, or unscrew them together and have one enormous one.
It's incredible. Mine was a Taco Bell slammer, if you'll believe it. It was this limited edition. Yes, the Taco Bell dog, which was a female, I think his name was Gidget or something, came to my town when I was a kid. And this was like when Pogs and Slammers were just kind of being phased out, but I was still collecting them. And we waited in this long line, and they gave us this goodie bag, and one of the items in the bag was a slammer, and we got to pet the dog and everything. It was, well, up to that point, one of the greatest days of my life, because the Taco Bell dog was huge.
It was awesome. We actually got a Pog maker. That came out like when we were filming, so you can just like literally cut out whatever kind of picture you want. It was almost like a big hole punch, a big Pog.
Right. Oh, that's incredible. So now, when you got into WWE, they showed footage of your debut. Later on after your debut, you debuted as this militant character inspired by Malcolm X alongside Big E and Kofi Kingston. But then that was quickly dropped. Can you go into why that was dropped and what the plans originally were for that character?
Well, it's like, wrestling's a never-ending storybook. So, sometimes you start going one direction, but the beauty that we can just kind of go whatever direction we want. Things just changed. For what reason, I'm not exactly sure, but it is WWE, and you just kind of go with the flow. It's one of the things that you learn when you get hired, that it is an ever-changing and ever-evolving living, breathing organism. So the best way to stay afloat is just go along with things that are occurring around you. So like I said, I'm not sure the exact reason things change, but in light of recent developments of New Day, it's great that they did, because to me, rather than someone just coming out and the character just being there, it's nice to be able to see that character evolve over time. So rather than just kind of being at whatever this end game was, which were the suits in the white bed, we were all angry. It's cool to kind of see the character go from A to B rather than just being at C already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was a complete 180. After a couple of months away, we saw the vignettes for the New Day, and it was happy, it was upbeat. I'm watching these vignettes thinking, there's no way these guys are going to debut as good guys. They're going to pull the swerve on us. But you guys were good for months. Was the original plan to eventually become villains? Because now, in my eyes, you're the hottest villains in WWE, but it didn't seem like that was the plan.
No, I mean, we thought, we had a couple of different schools of thought. We thought either this would occur and people would be into it because it's one of the, maybe one of the only positive things on television. Like, you turn on the news and there's death, murder, all sorts of stuff, car crashes and everything. And even reality TV, it's just it's all violent nonsense, you know what I mean? Movies, whatever. And so, okay, here's a positive thing with three guys, all college educated, all very good athletes, all very eloquent. So we're like, okay, we're preaching a positive message, like, do well in life and go to school and make sure you work out. You can be big and strong like me. Make sure, you stretch a lot and you can be flexible and agile like Kobe. Make sure you read your books and you can be smart like Wood. And then we realized a few weeks into it, it's 2013. People don't like those who are happy. So it's kind of like a play on society, essentially. People of American society, back in the 80s, in the 70s, someone's happy and someone's doing well, someone's getting through hardships, you cheer for that person. But now, 2015, they don't like that. They want someone who's grimy and who doesn't like people and who doesn't smile and isn't happy and wants to punt a puppy across a football field. You know what I mean?
Oh, no. Never that.
But I'm saying, if that happened, people would be watching it and have 3 million views on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But because it's something that's horrible. So, essentially, society has kind of degraded into this thing where they just like to see car wrecks and they want to see a hot mess. They want to see a fall from grace. And so, if you don't have those things, people are going to boo you because that's not entertaining to them. They want to see a mess. They want to see somebody, fall off the sidewalk and bust their lip open on the ground, they don't like nice things.
Right, and it's so interesting to hear you get into your thoughts behind this. Now I'm thinking that you were the perfect fit to head up New Day because you were so optimistic about it, almost too optimistic. Triple H, he took a liking to you, it seemed, in the documentary, and I remember he said on Austin's podcast that the days of what he called the white meat babyface, the good guy who, like you described, wants to be positive, those days are over. Those kind of guys get booed. Was there any apprehension on his part when he first saw the New Day and found out you guys were going to be this positive group? Was there any apprehension as to whether or not this would work?
No, it's one of those things that the only apprehension that people have towards things is when they feel that the talent doesn't fully embrace them. So, in our case, the three of us, I feel like no matter what we're given, our chemistry is so to the level that whatever you give us, we're going to make it work because it's based around the three of us. It's our chemistry that's going to make whatever you give us work. And so once he kind of saw this plan, this idea that someone had for us, and he saw how we embraced it, it's like, okay, cool. The talent is in, and they can give it their all and put their full selves into it, their body, mind, and soul, whatever. Then, here's the step of approval. Go ahead. See what happens.
And I did see you almost immediately embrace just being bad guys. I remember the first time I heard the New Day sucks chant was at Royal Rumble, Philadelphia, hostile territory. I was looking over at you, you're pounding the mat, and they're chanting New Day sucks. And I see you immediately just kind of start laughing, and you're kind of interacting with the fans. What was going through your mind when you first started hearing those chants?
break it down. There's absolutely no reason people should boo us. Like we're all very good. We have sweet matches. We go out there, we're happy. People don't like it, so it was just at that point in time. I remember what you're talking about exactly. Like, it was just funny to me because, like, okay, you know what? Like I said, it is 2015, and people like what they like, and what they like are horrible things.
You talked about the chemistry between you, Big E, and Kofi. What was the original thought process behind putting you guys together? Was this your decision? Are you guys friends outside of the ring?
Yeah, we're definitely friends outside of the ring. We're very similar in the ways that we were brought up. And so, like, when I got to the main roster, like, I had already known E, and we were pretty cool. I knew Kofi like a little bit. He was actually there two of the times that I kind of busted into the developmental system before I was hired. He just kind of handed the resume to whoever was there. So, like, one time with that Deep South, I cut class, and I did technically cut class, but I told my teachers that I was doing it. I'm a good guy. Broke down to Deep South from South Carolina, just kind of walked in, practice stopped, and I was like, oh, I don't want to get a job. Here's my resume. I'm 20. I don't know what I'm doing. And so he was there for that. And then I did the same thing again when they were at Deep South, like a year and a half, 2 years later. And so Kofi's kind of seen me just like how I've been on the grind trying to get a job. So it was, I believe, Extreme Rules last year when Truth and I had the match with Rusev, Rusev just kind of killed me and had the match with Truth. I just knew, like, okay, you know, I debuted in November. It was like March, I believe, the pay-per-view was. And then, okay, something has to change. I have to do something different. And one of the things, like, I guess you could call it a strike against me, like Triple H said in the documentary. Like, I'm always trying something different, so he wasn't sure of who I was. And my thought process was, if you're doing something in developmental for 2 to 3 months and you're not on the road, then it's time to change because, you know, time is not like essential to us. It's not essential. It's one of those things that just constantly passes, and so you're in developmental, and then a year passes, and you're like, oh, you know what? This Christmas, I'll be up on the road. Another year passes. Okay, this Christmas, and another year passes. So it's not like we have all the time in the world. So my thought process is 2 to 3 months, change it. If they don't like it, change it. If they don't like it, change it. So I kind of got the knock for being, I guess, like too creative. At one point, it was kind of explained to me. So honestly, at that Extreme Rules moment, I felt, well, I know it's a knock against me, but I'm going to take a chance anyway. And started kicking this idea around, and then got Big E involved, and maybe 3 weeks of talking between us, got Kofi involved because we wanted to kind of turn up the heat a little bit. We wanted to, kind of get to our real personas, like the kind of dark side of our mind. So me, yes, like you said, Malcolm X inspired character. I'm very much in tune with the civil rights movement, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, things like that. And so I just love the way that he spoke. They were both very so eloquent and could captivate an audience. So that to me is kind of like the upper echelon of public speaking, which I used to have horrible problems with. So being able to get to this level with a microphone makes me feel very good. But then Big E, he's on the same page. And then when we got to Kofi, he's never been like on the dark side of things while he's been in WWE. So he was, yeah, sure, I'll try this. And then through talking about everything, we realized, wow, we have really good chemistry together. Whether we're angry, whether we're mad, now we ride together, we train together, we work out together. We honestly spend all day at the building and TV together, kicking around ideas. And that's one of the things that I think makes it work so well. And that's why I say anything that we're given, the three of us together, like, is money. We'll make whatever work.
Sure. Now, you brought up Triple H saying you were too creative, which was shown on camera in the production meeting. Was there anything you saw in those production meetings that were behind the scenes, behind closed doors, that you heard about yourself for the first time? And if so, what were your reactions to them?
No, I feel like I've been lucky in the fact that everybody's pretty much been very straight up with me. I made it a point to tell everybody that, I'm a grown man. Please don't sugarcoat things with me. Like, if you don't like something, please tell me. We can hash it out, and I can either believe my point or you can believe yours or whatever it is. But, wrestling is much more of a, I guess you'd say, loose environment rather than working a 9 to 5 like at a cubicle. You don't necessarily have the leeway to just walk into your boss's office and wasn't really any surprises about anything. That was, like I said, my general strike against me is that I just did too much stuff.
Final question. It was brought up about your PhD background. You are a PhD candidate and could be the first ever PhD to compete inside a wrestling ring, not only a WWE ring, which is huge and could go down as a big part of your legacy. But I have to ask you, if you had one choice or the other, would you rather be a PhD competing in WWE or WWE World Heavyweight Champion?
PhD competing in WWE.
Really?
Like, yes, 100%. Because I feel like we have the opportunity as WWE superstars to make some sort of impact on lives, whether it's one kid, whether it's a teenager, whether it's an adult. And I feel like, yes, guys that bring WWE champion, it is amazing. It takes nothing away from that at all. But if there's a kid who's out there in the world watching wrestling and they see me and they know I have my PhD while I was wrestling, and that could possibly inspire them to not drop out of school, to not drop out of college, to go and attain that further, or that type of educational status. And that to me means a lot more. Because wrestling, well, I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. There's no feeling like it being in the ring. Knowing that you've been able to influence someone to better themselves and to create a more positive, a more influential, a stronger member of society, like, there's nothing better than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great answer. And now I'm kind of upset that you guys are bad guys now, because that was an ultimate good guy promo. I loved it. Xavier, thank you so much. It was an honor.
No problem. It's all right. Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you. Great interview. Thank you, Xavier Woods. I must say, the PhD candidate is much more engaging than the Iron Sheik. Let's do it again soon. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and YouTube and listen on SoundCloud and Stitcher. But for now, I've got to perform surgery on Manny Pacquiao. Good night. Dude, what are you doing? Sorry. You're like standing right behind me. I was just breathing down my neck. Back up. No, you're right. Sorry.